Yo, Darius BRITT here, and today we're gonna try something a little bit different. This is my list of top 10 best films of 2016. Disclaimer. Although I've seen a lot of movies, I have not seen every movie that there is to see in 2016. My list might be different from yours because I'm me and you're you. And that's alright. No, these are not movie reviews. I'm just sharing with you a list of movies that I personally liked, and I picked them based on how much I enjoyed watching it, and if they kind of challenged me in some way or did something that I thought was new or interesting or unique. And no, I have not broken all these movies down. Honestly, there was like a ton of good movies that came out in 2016, which made it really tough to narrow it down to 10. But I do believe it about that time to get into it.
Big wheels are a-rolling with big fat wheels in back.
10. Jackie. Aside from this movie being boss sauce, I really like Natalie Portman. Aside from her being like gorgeous, she murders every role that she gets. This movie is Jackie Kennedy's account of her husband JFK's assassination and like the following aftermath. She was the one like holding JFK's head literally when they were driving after it happened. That's pretty tragic, and then, you know, she just handled it all with such grace. I always thought her points of view and her sensibilities about things seemed a little interesting. She spent a lot of money on things, but they managed to make you like understand her point of view and where she was coming from, even if you don't agree with them, and that was very impressive. 9. Swiss Army Man. How do you even explain this movie? One giant fart joke. If you look at the trailer, it looks like one big ball of confusion. A guy gets stuck on an island and he finds a dead body that's not really dead, and then the dead body starts talking, and the dead body has supernatural powers complete with propulsive farts and flamethrowing and all kinds of nice craziness. The guy and the dead body become friends. What? I'd heard all kind of tales about how this film just really polarized audiences at the Cannes Film Festival. Lots of potty humor, lots of sex jokes, but there are some oddly relatable moments in there as well. The soundtrack was amazing. It was beautifully directed, very gorgeous, and it was also very funny. I'm not a very big potty humor guy, but there were some very interesting observations about life wrapped up into those potty jokes. Just saying. Considering that there were only 2 actors for like 85% of the film, and I was still interested and engaged, that's really impressive. Like, for anybody who's ever written a screenplay before, you can imagine how tough that is. There were like a couple of parts where it dragged, but then it would usually like pick right back up again. And I thought the ending wasn't as tight as I would have liked it to be, but I really dug its originality. And whether you loved it or hated it, it's a movie like you won't forget. 8. Oh, The Lobster. What a strange movie. It's like a dark comedy that parodies and explores the roles that relationships play in our society. Single people are basically second-class citizens who are institutionalized until they find a partner. And if they don't do so, they're turned into animals. No pressure. Nothing about this film is conventional. It's so far out of the box, it's memorable, and it's so well done. The cinematography, the editing, the dark humor really sticks. There's a lot of layers you can pull out of that whole theme onion. And the story just kind of went in some directions that I did not expect it to go, and I was thoroughly pleased by the unpredictability. The only gripe I had was the ending made me feel awful for being human. 7. Kubo. Such a cute movie. We've got an action-adventure movie with a lot of mythology, great characters, compelling story, culture. The stop-motion animation was so good, I thought it was 3D animation! And it had a lot of heart. It gave me the feels watching it. It's surprisingly dark and melancholic for an animated film. One scene might make a toddler cry, and then the next might scare the pants off of them. It has some content that you don't normally see in an animated like kids movie, so it's definitely more geared toward adults, but I like that they took that creative risk. Well, actually, I guess that's more of a commercial risk, but I liked that they went somewhere I don't normally see with animated films. 6. Birth of a Nation. Nate Parker starred in and wrote and directed this film. I remember this film having a ton of buzz at Sundance, and I think it sold for like $7 million or somewheres around there. Nate Parker had like raised all the money himself. He put a lot of his own money into it, and it's a super ambitious project for a directorial debut, and he just kills it. It's the story of Nat Turner, who's actually a African-American historical figure who was a slave. It's a tough film to watch. Not 12 Years a Slave tough, but tough. There were some very disturbing scenes depicting horrific violence against the slaves, but it was also a very beautifully shot film. I can tell some of the shots were inspired by Braveheart. Well, maybe some of the shots were like literally stolen from Braveheart. Especially the revolt scene. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch, but I think it's definitely a film that hits the mark with its intended audience. As an African American, it was really nice to see one of our historical figures depicted on the silver screen doing something about slavery, because, I mean, we had people try to do something about it too. It wasn't all Abe Lincoln. Hey, he's got like 25 movies. I mean, we've got peeps who did stuff too, but we don't really see their stories being told. Real talk. 5. Rogue One. All I gotta say is the struggle's real. The story of the rebels who stole the plans to the Death Star was the story that I did not even know that I wanted to see, and oh man was it good. It's probably one of, if not the best spin-off to a franchise I've ever seen, and it like fits seamlessly into the whole universe they set up. I like the darker tone, I love the relatable characters, and the aesthetic and the look of the film feels very different from the usual Star Wars fare. Like, the worlds actually, they feel lived in. It was 2 hours of tension that left me wanting more, had a really amazing third act, and I really felt the struggle. 4. The Witch had a lot of buzz around it at Sundance. It's about this family in like the 1630s that lives near a forest that might just be inhabited by a witch. This film is not really scary so much as it is disturbing. It's about exploring family dynamics and how these supernatural happenings just cause this family to like implode. And I really connected with the characters. I actually gave a crap about what happens to them. What happens to the family is more tragic in my eyes than the supernatural aspect of it. No. Oh, he's just trying to be a good dad. What is up with this movie? I don't like you, and I don't like you. It feels like the environment is actually a character, and the score really helps to build that tension. It's a really slow burn with a lot of atmosphere. 3. It seems like we get a superhero movie every other month, and they all kind of feel the same, except Deadpool. I love it when movies take risks, and an R-rated Marvel movie was a pretty big risk. I mean, the comics themselves were already pretty graphic, and they stayed true to that, language and all. I also really liked how simple they kept the story. There was no grand world-ending plot. Like, oh, I'm so tired of those. How many times can you bring the world to the brink of destruction before it just gets old? And there wasn't a ton of CG by comparison to like the other comic book movies. It was just a funny script, a really simple revenge story that was easy to follow. And, well, actually, it was kind of a love story, too. It was different. It was original. I liked it. 2. Captain America Civil War. What's not to love about this movie? So the Avengers have saved the world 2 times over, resulting in trillions of dollars of collateral damage. People start thinking that maybe these Avenger types need to be regulated by the government. So, you know, no more cities get blown up. Iron Man agrees, Captain America doesn't. I was team Captain America in case anybody cares. This film explores some very thought-provoking questions. Should power be regulated? Should it not be regulated? If it is regulated, how far does that regulation go? Can 2 friends still love each other and have opposing ideologies? I couldn't help but think of how much of a monster this film must have been to write. I mean, they had like really compelling arguments for both sides, and the characters had depth, and they had really compelling and understandable motives and motivations. Ah, man. The action was really solid. We got to see a Super Smash Bros. Type smackdown with all the heroes. The film had a really clear structure without being predictable, and I also love that, you know, by the end of it, it didn't just like boil down to another global destruction plot. 1. Moonlight surprised me. Let me start by saying that I had absolutely no intention of seeing this movie for a few reasons. 1. I was busy. 2. I was busy. 3, it didn't look interesting to me at all, and I was busy. But then 4 of my closest friends told me that I had to stop what I was doing and go out and see this movie. Like, usually if it's a good movie or something, I have like 1 or 2 people tell me, hey, you really gotta check it out, but not 4. The force is strong with this one. So I went and checked it out and absolutely loved it. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting the visual poetry that I got. It's not so much the story they were telling, but the way that they told it that made this film stand out. It was very unconventional, it was very elegant. Amazing job setting tone, they strangled you with tension in every scene. Amazing use of music, it had its own unique structure that made it like really unpredictable. I think part of the reason why like it just floored me is because my expectations were so like low, and what I actually got was like way up here. So this whole like middle margin gap was just like, what? The last time I've been genuinely just caught off guard and really moved by a film was when I saw Drive. I walked out of that theater just like, man, that was amazeballs. I want to shoot something tomorrow. So that was my top 10. Again, mine's gonna be different from all of y'all's, and yours is gonna be different from each other. But feel free to like get in the comic box and, you know, leave your list of top 10. Everybody please play nice, no mudslinging, because I'd be seeing like what people be commenting on other people's top 10 lists and all that. Just be nice to each other. Be nice. Well, I do believe that's all that I got for you. If any of you folks out there is interested in a one-on-one chat session, I will leave a link in the description section too, where you can find some more details and schedule one. And I'll probably leave a link to like a sample of all like what these chat sessions look like if I finish cutting it together by the time I release this video. If not, I'll just add it in the description later on. And yeah. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like or subscribe. You can also find me on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or the Twitter, baby. You can also check out my second YouTube channel, DARIOUS, BRITT, where I vlog about my adventures on the film festival circuit with my first feature-length film, unsound, live casting, vlogs, etc., etc. I do believe that's all I got for you, suckers. Booyah!